All right, thanks, Lawrence. The city of Oakland's finances are really in a world of trouble, so much so that in a draft report, finance staffers talked about Oakland being on the verge of bankruptcy. That report has since been rewritten, and references to Chapter 9 bankruptcy have been removed.
Yeah, but that sure doesn't change the fact that Oakland must close a projected $115 million deficit before next June. The city council was briefed today, and KRON 4's Dan Kerman has details.
The city of Oakland is on the brink of fiscal collapse unless the city council acts fast. Tuesday, the city's finance team told council members if they continue spending at the current rate, the city will end this fiscal year in June of 2025 with a deficit of nearly $115 million and risk insolvency. Closing the gap won't be easy.
Reductions in our public safety budgets are now unavoidable to effectively address the current year shortfall.
Police and fire services are on the chopping block because they're responsible for most of the overspending, with the police department projected to overspend its budget by $51 million and the fire department projected to overspend its budget by $34 million. OPD Chief Floyd Mitchell told the city's finance committee earlier in the day they're already taking steps to address the overtime budget.
We implemented measures to really pull back all of our discretionary or special assignment overtimes. Other than that, the officers are, staying late for a specific assignment.
How cuts to police and fire will impact public safety are unclear, but the firefighters union cautioned the council against reductions.
Any firehouse closure can make the difference for your family retelling a tragic story with a happy ending or a tragic story with a terrible ending. To be clear, we have already closed one firehouse in the Grand Lake neighborhood, and this contingency budget is not surgical. It does not look for ways to find all available funds before looking at cost-cutting measures. It simply takes an axe directly to the heart of the city, the vital services that we all provide every single day.
The city's finance department also told the city council Oakland's reserves have already been used up, and budget cuts must be approved before the end of December if they're to have any impact.
Past December of this year, we lose the ability and the time to make adjustments to ensure our own solvency.
The city council is set to look at specific budget cuts at its December 3rd meeting.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all having a great and wonderful day. Well, what we have here is the Oakland is going bankrupt. Yes, I know, it's surprising. I think I've told you guys this before, but for the newcomers that are here, you probably don't know. And if you do know, well, great. But yeah, it seems that they're having a way worse time of having, trying to survive, and with their $115 million deficit, they're facing bankruptcy, and it's not looking good. And even though that they have managed to, essentially, recall Mayor Sheng and Alameda County DA Pamela Price successfully recalled because people are tired of the crime, everything that's going on, and the embezzlement from Sheng Thao. Things are just not looking too great still, because obviously Oakland is in a desperate freefall. It is falling, and it doesn't look like it's going to recover anytime soon. Even from Politico is saying Oakland mayor and progressive DA ousted amid crime complaints. So, yeah, it's not looking too great. California is seeming to get more red. And as you can tell, that later on this week, I'll be talking about how Oakland and California and Illinois, my apologies guys, Illinois and California are looking to secede from their woke counterparts such as LA and Chicago, because the majority of Illinois is, well, mostly rural and are wanting to move. But that's getting a bit too far into the weeds here, later. But it's just not great. Now, what we have here, obviously, is Oakland budget cuts may cut fire and police staffing because, well, they just don't have the money to keep them aboard. Take a look.
Tonight with a live shot of Oakland, where the city is looking to make some severe cuts to balance its budget.
Finance department sounded the alarm on Friday, saying balance the budget now or declare a fiscal emergency. Officials say any reductions will have to be done soon and could mean laying off police officers and browning out fire stations.
JMReports on the options on the table.
Oakland is facing a deficit of $93 million for this fiscal year alone. Since public safety takes up a majority of the budget, experts say any kind of cut will likely involve police and fire. Much like an emergency, Oakland's finance department calling for urgent solutions to close the deficit. The city admits it's already spending money from its emergency reserves.
To cut already shortened police department makes absolutely no sense. And to cut the fire department means absolutely no sense.
Tahira Hodge worries about possible cuts to police and fire. She and her family evacuated from their home last month in the Keller fire. She credits the fire department for saving her neighborhood.
I looked out and I saw all the smoke and there was some fire in the trees, and I was like, oh my gosh.
In a contingency budget plan released in June, the city talked about reducing the police force down to around 600 officers. Right now, the city has roughly 670 officers. Oakland had 613 officers back in 2013, so 600 would make it the smallest force in years. The contingency plan would also brown out a handful of fire stations, freeze positions across city departments, and reduce hours at rec centers, libraries, and senior centers.
My priority is public safety and a clean city. I need the police and the fire department to respond.
Councilman Noel Gallo and others have warned Mayor Sheng Thao and her allies about this financial mess back in June. The current budget depends on selling the Coliseum, but the city has not received money from the deal.
At the end of the day, we're going to have to negotiate with the unions. You know, we got to make some reductions. We may have to lay some people off.
He says cuts alone won't be enough. They need concessions from the unions.
Crime numbers were down, and so that restores positivity for people to want to come and shop in Oakland, do business in Oakland.
Business owners and residents worry any cuts will derail progress made on public safety.
Having safety is number one. And you have to, because if not, businesses will close.
We need the firemen, we need the cops, because it's too much crime in Oakland.
Residents like Tahira admit any solutions will be painful.
They need to figure out something else because the safety of everyone in Oakland is on the line.
The mayor has been recalled and will be gone after December 5th. The city council will be meeting on Tuesday to talk about how to solve this budget crisis.
I can figure out a few ways they can deal with the budget crisis, but there you guys have it. Is that mostly is that they're dealing with fire and wanting to reduce the police departments. Now, what we have here, guys, is something that I don't think a lot of you may understand. Now, what's been going on in California or what have you, or rather Oakland in this instance, is that they have some really high-paid employees, and these are the high-paid employees here. You can look at them, and you can obviously tell that it ain't great. So what we have is in 2022, Oakland, California reported 2,412 employees making more than $100,000 per year. The average salary was $99,000. The highest reported pay for the city was $105 per hour. And then Deputy City Administrator Oakland, California 2022, ranked 23rd in the nation among the highest paying cities and 7th in the nation for overall highest paid employers. So, yeah, that's insane. And we need to talk about this as well, because if we don't talk about it, well then, how else? So we see here is, right, there's abysmal, here's how long it takes Oakland police to respond to crime calls. Well, what we have here is that it takes a long time to respond to crime calls, mostly just because of the fact that they had already defunded the police already as is. So when they defunded the police, the police had longer wait times, just not enough to go to these crimes or go to these policies, and it ended up not being great, right? And it says here, between 2018 and 2022, the time between when residents called 911 to report high-priority incidents, which include imminent physical danger and violent crimes involving weapons, and when police showed up, went from an average of 12.7 minutes to 19.1 minutes, more than a 50% increase. So, say if you're calling and you're in desperate danger, you're going to have to wait an average of 20 minutes before they can even get to you. Now, every second is just life or death scenario here. And that's the reason why I say you have to have a gun on you, because you can't always count on the police. Again, when you count on police, you get these, you don't really get the positives. So, the police, and I always say, usually always responds after the fact. It's only in movies or in other reels to where, like, they show up right on time or right before. But even in movies, you see them show up after the fact, and after the aftermath has occurred, because people still have to get time to get there. So, if you put it in this perspective, right, and you have all these things that are ongoing, then here's what you have. You cut off the police, and then you cut off the firemen. Well, guess what? The police get fired, it gets shortened or whatever. You get less tax revenue, which means you get less money for the actual, city in itself. It causes another shortfall. Then you also have the time is going to be increased by X amount of more percentage depending on how many cops are laid off. So instead of being 20 minutes, it could be up to 25, 30, or 40 minutes depending on how many people are laid off. And then when it comes down to fires and other things, because they're going to be laying off the firemen too, you're going to have a longer wait time for the firemen to get there, because it's just, there's less firemen to go out and do that stuff. So it means a higher chance of your entire neighborhood going to be burned down. So it's a rolling setback of just constant failure over and over again. And if we go look at the highest paid employees here, look at this. Richard Luna is number 1 and number 2 of the highest paid employees. And if you go look at the estimated salary here, you see this that the top 3 are $406,000 yearly salary. Now they can cut these by half for like almost majority of these employees, people, and you would be able to pay for a lot of these things if you cut these salaries by half. I mean, look at this. The lowest that it goes is $223,000, guys. That's insane. And if you go looking for more employees and stuff like that, it's like it doesn't really decrease. So again, it's like they have the money, but these people want to be greedy and keep the money to themselves to be paid this high amount of salary, while the community and the rest of the city suffers because you guys want to be greedy and keep your money, and you don't have the money to do so. So I think a lot of things can be dealt here. I think they can be reduced the price, cut the salary for a lot of these people in order to save the city. But I don't think they're going to do that. So that being said, Oakland looks like it's in deep trouble. They are trying to fix some things, but this is what happens when you vote mostly Democratic, vote for the wrong policies, vote wrong people in, and you get abused. And this is just the year of 2022, right? And that's all that we have. We don't even have the actual amount of salary, how much these people are being paid in year 2024, which could be higher or lower. But it ain't looking good here, and Oakland is burning down, collapsing before we see it, and it's not looking good here, guys. It's looking quite awful. Alright, guys, that's it for the video. Let's guys share. As always, take care, my friends.
I'm disgusted by what I see in public. Even people closest to us can't be trusted, because it's algorithmic disease, the social media.